boom, 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 boom. Na 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 na. Okay, let's get everything all ready. Ooh, we're at 45. That's really impressive. Let's see. Okay, and then we... Hello, 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 hello! Welcome! Welcome! Hello! Hello! Welcome in! Welcome to Anatomy and Physiology 101. Hold on. I'm currently trying to get all the links set up. Takes a moment, as y'all know. I do not have any good live stream stuff. But hello! Ooh, how are we today? Are you guys good? I hope you're well. I got one of these. There we go. We're gonna wait a little bit. Chilling. Good. I had a long day. By a long day, I mean I slept the whole day away. Also, I will say the fact that I rock back and forth is not good for my VTuber model. It's like it's not a habit I can break because I'm autistic. I rock back and forth as a way to soothe and also just regulate my emotions in my body. So it's difficult for me to not do that, if that makes sense. So we're gonna be waiting a bit, just a little bit, just a few minutes, just a few minutes. Not too long though, not too long. Where's my thoughts? There we go. Yes, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology for lab rats. This is a 60 slide presentation. Oh boy, 60 whole slides. It's a lot of slides, I will say. Has anyone done any gotcha pulls lately? I'm very curious. I managed to get Super Wolf. But I failed on getting her light cone. Instead, I got Japard's fucking signature instead. Which is awful. But it's okay, because, we're just waiting. 5 more minutes. 3 minus 5. Until we start. But yes, I am... I am exhausted. I got my yellow bear here, bro. I got yellow bear, as my comfort buddy while I wait. Because I took a big nap today. I was a Division 1 napper, as they say. I slept and 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 slept. That's it. Okay. Well, okay, I'm gonna see. Do we want to wait 5 more minutes, or do we want to start now? I'm very curious. I will do whatever you all want, I will say. Whatever you guys want, I will do. Are we more of a, like, start now, or wait? I'll wait if no one has any. Oh, I got 6 viewers. Hello, hi. Oh, 6 viewers is crazy. All right, we're gonna start. Hi, hello, welcome. Watermelon, welcome. Hold on, wait. I gotta put this game down, bruh. All right, let's go. Let's start. Okay. Anatomy and physiology for lab rats. Does anyone here know what the term anatomy and physiology means, or are we blind? I feel like you guys might know what anatomy means because anatomy is a more common term than physiology. By the way, I will keep a very invisible tally in my mind. That is that 100% realistic tally. That is basically who's the best students. So if you participate, you might get a reward if I remember that you participated a lot. You might not, but you also might. Yes, anatomy is the study of the body, specifically the body structures. So your study of how the human body is. So the individual structures, the individual parts. That is all the study of anatomy, which is awesome. What about physiology, though? Physiology is a term that is not used as much in common lexicon, common wordage, as they say. Which is why I wonder if you all know what physiology is. Because physiology, I will say, physiology is the function. So, yes, we are learning. Welcome in, Sandra. Welcome in, Rob. Welcome in, everybody. I'm very happy to see you all. But yes, it is effectively form v function. Anatomy and physiology go hand in hand because, obviously, anatomy is form, physiology is function. If the human body were a bike, we have the study of how the tires are formed and what they're made of, and it's how the tires work. All right, let's go. So this is what we'll cover today. Let me quickly make sure it's all presenting good. Yes, you can see all of it. Okay, awesome. This is going well. As we can see, there's a lot of parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 chapters. And there is some with sub-chapters. This will be on the exam. But this is taken from my school syllabus. Based on the order in the breakdown. But don't worry. This is very basic. I'm not gonna overwhelm you guys, I promise. It looks like a lot, and it is, but we're exploring all of these parts of your body. First up is the cell. Okay, we all know the cell. The cells, they're made of organelles. Your body is made up of cells, and cells are small little workers. They're compromised. Basically, every part of your body is effectively a cell. Like, a cell is the smallest working unit of your body. And there's lots of types of cells. There's skin cells, liver cells, white blood cells, neurons. They're all very important, and they all have one goal, and it's to keep you alive. So some important parts of the cell. We have the nucleus, which is the... Hold on, can I have like a pointer? Oh, I don't want to go back. Hold on. Nucleus, which is like the big sphere there. Nucleus houses all the DNA. It's kind of like the brain, kind of, or it's like the egg. It has all of the, like, genetic Oh, I'm sorry, guys. There we go. It has all the genetic information. Hold on. I have to, like, figure out how to switch back and forth real quick. There we go. It has all the genetic information. The mitochondria. Mitochondria is probably the most well-known part of the cell, I would say. It's the powerhouse of the cell. Infamously known, of course, as the powerhouse of the cell. And the powerhouse of the cell, it makes the energy. It converts cell food into energy. And the cytoplasm is like the filling. Nice cell, kid. Exactly. Welcome in, Abe. Nice to see you here. So basically all types of cells, basically most cells, the majority of cells, vast majority of cells have these structures. There's also a bunch of other structures here too. If you want to know about any of these other structures, depending on if I know about them, feel free to ask. But there's like vacuoles, which like store water, lysosomes that help eat stuff, ribosomes, which is like has some proteins. But cells are just little bitty things, little bitty things. They're the lowest unit of organization. So here's some types of cells, and these you will see these again. You have red blood cells, erythrocytes. Erythrocytes are the fancy term for blood cells. So basically, they make it bleed red. Does Archie have plant-like cells with cell walls or animal? Yeah, so plant cells have cell walls. animal cells, which are human cells, do not have cell walls. Archie has animal cells, I believe. I haven't really checked. I haven't put myself on the microscope. These are just some cool cell types. I am part P, but I haven't like chopped off parts of my ears yet, if that makes sense. But also, is audio good? I want to make sure audio is good because it's peaking a little bit, and I want to just make sure that it's good enough, tolerable at least, because as you all know, my laptop runs on hopes and dreams. I'm a hopes and dreams streamer. Audio's good. Okay, awesome. Welcome in, Duck, as well. So, as you can see, these two cells, they look pretty different. And that's what's super cool, is that based on the function, the cell changes how it looks. So the red blood cells are made to do their job optimally. So, like, obviously someone who's working, let's put it this way, if someone is working at construction, they need to be built a certain way so they can tolerate construction. And then the nerve cells, obviously someone who is very smart has to have the brain power to be able to do super smart things. You don't have neuroglia. It's okay, don't worry. Okay, so the key takeaway, here's some more cells. More cells that you may have. We see the sperm cell, egg cell, root hair cell, ciliated epithelial, white blood cell, red blood cell, muscle cell. Cells are the human blocks of life. The building blocks of human life. They have many purposes. There are many types of different types of cells, and each cell has a unique job to keep you alive. I'm gonna go a little bit further on the topic of cells because we all. I'm gonna say I'm going to assume we all know what cancer is. Cancer is when a cell has a genetic mutation that makes it go strictly against its biology. And in this case, the cell's biology is to keep its host alive. And the host isn't you and me. But a cancer cell's initiative is to just keep itself alive, which is why it grows and steals your nutrients and resources and why it metastasizes, because its goal is to stay alive for any means possible. So that's a fun fact. That's a distinction between normal and cancer cells. Okay, next up, cellular metabolism. Imagine my surprise going from, guys, the cell to, fuck you, look at this shit. It's awful. I hate it. I hate it so much. There's a reason why I put all these little emotes there. It is scary. But your good friend Archimedes has, yes, they were 100% necessary to show how I still don't get it. I'm still very confused about this because it makes me unhappy. It's my least favorite anatomy and physiology topic. Okay, so there are major steps of cellular metabolism. We can see there's a more simplified graph right here. That's much more simple. This is like the baby's first cellular metabolism. Cellular metabolism is the conversion of fuel into ATP so your body can function. So that, like, McDonald's burger you had a while ago, your body cells cannot eat McDonald's burger. So your body makes it, probably unrelated. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that because the Krebs cycle is named after a researcher. Basically it's imagine it's just the process of turning glucose into ATP, which is energy. ATP is cell food, and you gotta remember that. That's what's very important. It can be turned into 3 steps: glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. So, glycolysis. Glycolysis converts 1 glucose into 2 pyruvate. Pyruvate is turned then into acetyl-CoA, and it also creates 2 net ATP, meaning regardless of what is used, 2 comes out. So, like, let's say you had $5, you bought something for $3, and then you sold it for $4, you would have $6 net dollars. And then NADH is another thing that is created. And then pyruvate becomes acetyl-CoA, which is important for the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is like a big wheel. It does 2 rotations per glucose molecule, or per acetyl-CoA, my bad. And it's a very convoluted process, but ultimately it turns into CO2, which we know what CO2 is, carbon dioxide, ATP, NADH, and FADH2. I will explain what those last two chemicals are. NADH and FADH squared are electron transmitters, which are very important for the next stage of the Krebs cycle, is because the NADH and FADH squared go to the electron transport chain and they move substances, namely water, down the concentration gradient, which is like dense, like thick osmosis kind of. And basically it's a movement thing and it creates water. So that's kind of, it moves ATP, I believe, and it makes water. So that's where water comes from in your cells. Makes me think you're a professor. You guys don't know that. Maybe I am a professor. Okay, key takeaway. It's a very simplified overview about one of my least favorite topics. It can be explored much more in depth at a much greater understanding. And this is a very much simplified view of the process. So we can understand here, this is a very simplified version. Any questions about the electron? This is the glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, the ETC, this horrible thing that I hate. I hate this. I hate this. I did really bad on the exam for this. Because there is stuff that I do know that I did not put on the slides. Like, I can tell you what ATP stands for. I don't think you guys know what that means. What is an electron? Great question. So, yes, Watermelon Witter's correct. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. There's also ADP, which is also generated from parts of the cycle, which is adenosine diphosphate. So that's very correct. What is an electron? Well, an electron is, well, in anatomy, electrons are very important. Electrons are a negatively charged subatomic particle, and basically, electrons they rotate around an atom. And they're very important because they're very important when it comes to pH. pH is determined by your electrons. And because of that, and due to the amount of electrons, they're very small and they weigh a little bit. Because of that, they're very important to help maintain your body's acid-base balance. And we will go into that. That is a topic. But yeah, no, when I got to this part, I was like, I didn't sign up for biochem. I signed up for A&P. I don't want to do this. All right, next up. Tissues. We're back to topics that are more digestible, in my opinion. Tissues are kind of a constant in anatomy and physiology because every type of organ has tissues. And you gotta kind of know the type of tissues. Like, I have a list of tissues that I have to memorize based on their anatomy slides up on my wall right now. As you can see, there's currently 4 types of tissues, but we will be going into that. Because there are so many types of tissues, we're going to be covering the basic classifications of tissues. Where's an electron? So you can't learn it in one semester. Oh, yeah, basically. That's how it feels. But, an epithelium, the epithelium tissues, they are one of the most abundant tissues in the body. And they line your skin and body cavities. So there are multiple types of cells. You can't see it because my, well, let's see. Let's just, there you go. You can kind of see it better now. You can see all of those with my chat box being naked. There we go. But basically there is 3 types of, no. Technically there's like 5, okay, well there's simple and there's stratified. Simple is 1 layer. Stratified is more than 2, is 2+. So simple, squamous, stratified, squamous. And then there's like the cell shapes, okay? Because there is squamous, which is flat. Your skin is stratified squamous tissue. They're very flat. They look like little pancakes. There's cuboidal, which gets its name from its cube structure. And then it does go into this type of transitional epithelium, which is tissues that are not quite either of those, and you see that in the bladder, which allows the skin to stretch. And then there's columnar, which look like columns. And then there's pseudostratified columnar that basically it looks like it has more than one layer, but it's just one layer. And then we have connective tissues. These tissues are also really, really common in your body. So let's say, for example, loose connective tissue. Your blood is a connective tissue. Which I think that might sound shocking because you don't really think of blood as a tissue. You kind of think of it as like a secret third thing, right? And then there's elastic connective tissue, which I don't remember what elastic CTs are. Dense, which is also, I don't remember what they are. Bone, cartilaginous, which is your cartilage. And then adipose, which is fat, which is, obviously, I think those make sense. Basically, these tissues, are very important when it comes to making sure they're basically very complementary structures. They help make up organs, especially. They're very important when it comes to making up organs and other structures. So it's always important to be aware that you have these different types of tissues. Cardiac muscle. First of all, we all don't like cardiac muscle because it's very complicated and stupid. Yeah. Listen, I am unafraid to announce when I don't know what the hell it's going on. But I do know about these muscles. So, I think I will go more into this later. But as you can see, there's 3 types of muscle cells. Smooth muscle, it doesn't have any of these striations. And these are in like a lot of your organs. There's only one type of muscular cell that you can voluntarily control. And I want you guys to take a crack at it. Which is the muscle that you can control? Just take a guess. You don't have to be right. I want to see if chat has any idea. Skeletal? All right. Yes, skeletal muscle is the only muscle that you have voluntary control over. Cardiac and smooth muscle are involuntary, meaning you have 0 control. I make my heart beat fast by watching it. If it would not be good if we could voluntarily control our heart, I would say. And then these are nervous cells. I'm not going to go heavily into these because I already had to heavily limit what I put on for the nervous system. But all of these cells basically have unique function. Like Schwann cells, they coat nerve axons and such. And satellite cells do things, and microglia do stuff. Basically, all of these do really important things. And I don't have the time to explain it all, but we could see that they all have their own unique little shape and classified structure, and they're very helpful, which is very good. Key takeaway, there are many types of tissues in your body. Tissues are a group of cells with a shared function. Tissues are also one of the levels of organization in your body. They are the second level of organization. They go from cells to tissues. And as we can see the structures of each. Protection, absorption. Oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes. Yep, that's how you say oligodendrocytes. I know how to say things, but I don't know how to say jejunum. Yeah, these are all muscles. They're all very important. Fat, bone, blood, cartilage, cardiac, smooth, skeletal. These are all your tissues, and these are basically the groundworks. The org level. Proteins are a amino acid, I believe. Proteins. So basically, there's like, when we come to cellular structures, proteins are kind of unique in a way because I don't know what proteins count as. I have to think because went over. Proteins are very much well, they're not like a cell. Proteins are very important to cells. They're not necessarily cellular food, but they're kind of structures to help the cell function. Let's say, for example, protein helps build muscle. Proteins are also linked to amino acids, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, proteins are not amino acids, but they're very similar. Proteins are large, and basically, proteins are made of amino acids. Let's put it that way. And amino acids are very important because they form like RNA and DNA. The integument! Woo! Alright, guys, we're getting into actual body systems now. Yeah, biology does a lot of protein origami. A lot. Not always for the good way, by the way. Do not look up prion disease. Do not look up prion disease. Worst decision of my life. Okay, the integumentary system. You got 3 layers. Technically 2, but I'm listing it as 3 for simplicity's sake, so this is technically misinfo, but I feel like this is just a better way to describe it. Epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. Technically, the hypodermis is not a part of the system, but for some reason, they keep shoving it down my throat when I learn it. So I'm saying it is. And there's 5 layers of your epidermis, alright? Stratum corneum, the stratum lucidum, the stratum granulosum, the stratum spinosum, and the stratum basale. Or basale, however you want to pronounce it. And then the dermis has 2 layers, the papillary and reticular. And I kind of forgot what it does. Amino acids are like, they're also building blocks. They're very similar to like glucose. They're very similar to stuff like glucose, starches. Very important, also body energy, and can help your body do stuff. Sorry guys, I have to yawn. I slept all day today. I should not be this tired. But here we can see more on the integument. There are a bunch of other structures a part of the integument. So if you look at your skin, you can see there's hairs. And hair is a part of the integumentary system. It has multiple purposes, and it's very cool. Hair and nails are also part of it. Nails are part of the integumentary system. The purposes of the integument are as follows. They provide protection, secrete. So they secrete certain things to help prevent infection. They synthesize vitamin D. They regulate temperature and water balance, and then they detect sensations. And fun fact, your skin cells at the surface are dead, and they're filled with a protein called keratin. Keratin? When hair is plucked out, why no blood? Hold on. I gotta look that up. I know what, hold on. I know why, but I have to show you. I'm gonna show you, okay? So the hair has, you see this, right? Hair has a bunch of stuff, right? It has the hair follicle, hair strand. The blood vessels usually serve the root or dermal papillae. The dermal papillae often is not taken out when plucked, which is why hair grows back. However, if you were managed to get out the dermal papillae, you may have very, 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 very slight bleeding. Like, you might not notice it. But yeah, for the most part, if you cut hair or pluck your hair, you're not actually plucking out the entire follicle. You are only plucking out part of a follicle, which ultimately means that you're not really damaging the blood vessels, or if you are, it's not enough for it to rise to the surface. You can also see these other structures here. You can see these sebaceous glands, which are the weird gaps in the upper part of the dermis. And then the weird pink strand here is the erector pili muscle, which is responsible for the movements of your hair follicles. Like, you ever have your hair stand on end? Or, like, your hair stand up when it's cold? Or goosebumps? That's the erector pili muscle. Alright. Hope you guys enjoyed that little side quest. You guys are more than open to doing those side quests to better explain topics. The more questions, the merrier. No. Because if you manage to fully get out the hair root, I believe, for the most part, there may be exceptions or I may be incorrect. I want to say it will not grow back because the root is gone. It's like if you cut down a tree and you leave it seated on the ground, the tree will grow back because there's obviously some, like, tree seeds there. There'll be trees that grow back. But if you get rid of the tree and its seeds, there's nothing. So key takeaway, it's the largest organ in your body and has many functions. It's made up of many little structures that keep you safe and help navigate the world Your skin has distinct layers, and when it reaches the surface, the skin cells are full of keratin. Keratin is also waterproof, fun fact. So, any questions before we move on? Any questions about anything? Water break. Not even water, just Gatorade break, bro. There we go. I'm also watching the clock and I have to speed up a bit. Hopefully not. Alright, next one. Bones! Bones! I could go about bones for like 5 hours. Bones, I had to learn all the bones in the body, for anatomy lab. But the bones lay the scaffolding for your body. They come in unique shapes and sizes, and due to time constraints and my own sanity, we will not be going over all 206 bones in the body. But your skeleton can be divided into 2 major groups. Your axial skeleton, which is the center of your body. So if you can look here, you see the hips, the rib cage, the spinal cord, and the skull. That's the axial skeleton. And the appendicular skeleton, which is your arms and your legs and all of those structures. Those are, I also think that the hips are part of the appendicular, but I'm not fully sure. Histology time. Yep, guys, I said that we would go back to histology. This is the quickest thing that I can explain about bones in time constraint. So there's 2 types of bones. You have 2 types of bone, guys. Spongy and compact. Spongy bone is porous, it's lightweight, and it absorbs shock. And the dense, compact bone is the outer shell. And it provides structural support, and it's composed of microscopic units called osteons. Osteons are the small little circular things right over there. Are teeth bones? No, they are not bones. They're made up of similar material, though. Your teeth are kind of accessory structures, which are structures that are not quite organs, but are not quite something else. They're kind of just there. Let's see, next. As you can see, there's also multiple types of little things that help the bones do stuff. So osteocytes, they are the little guys that live in the bone, and they kind of help maintain your bone. Osteoblasts form bone matrix, which the matrix is like it has like calcium and all of these elastic and connective tissues. Yes, infants and babies do have more bones. However, that's because as we grow up and as we age, those bones fuse together. A lot of them are in the skull, or like I want to say, yeah, most of them are in the skull. It's because obviously as the child's head grows, some bones have to fuse. What happens when my bones crack? Those are not actually your bones cracking, those are ligaments. Those are your ligaments, and that's probably air pockets and ligaments, or just your ligaments moving. Osteogenic cells, which are stem cells, and they create bone cells. And then osteoclasts, which basically are your cleanup crew. They absorb bone. So let's say you break your arm, okay? Let's say you break your ulna. What will happen is, obviously, a big clot will appear where the bone was broken. And that is because, have fun, Ito! Have a good rest of your day! If I don't see you, but also if I see you, come back time whenever you want. But basically, when the bone cracks, first you get a big blood clot, and that's because obviously your body is kind of freaking out because the bone is broken. Osteoclasts will actually break the bone down further because obviously if you broke a bone, there's going to be a lot of damaged bone at the site that, like, the remains. So the body will break all of that down. The osteoclasts will absorb it. And then the osteoblasts, which help reform the bone, will then go into overdrive and just start building bone. Why are some bones denser than others? Usually bone density depends on a lot of things. It can come to size. It can also come to the load bearing it has to deal with. If a bone has to bear a lot, if it has a lot of pressure put on it often, like for example, if you exercise, bones that you have via exercise will be more dense if you don't exercise. And also calcium intake has a lot to do with bone density as well. What are my strongest and weakest bones? Good question. Your femur is very strong, and if you break your femur, that's not good because one of your major blood vessels run through your femur. I would argue some of your weakest are probably your finger bones. Are also your finger bones are in general pretty weak because they have to be lightweight and easy to navigate. Okay, key takeaway, your bones are important structural scaffolding of your body. Bones serve as an attachment point and protection for many other important structures. They can be compact or spongy, and they have many types of cells that help keep them healthy. This is like the one exam that I failed, guys. We're learning about the muscular system. So without muscles, your body would just not be able to move, which is not good, as we all know. You kind of need movement, which is why we have the muscular system. You can be grouped into 3 major groups, which is cardiac, smooth muscle, and skeletal. As you can see, there are some organ examples. Smooth muscle tissue is like your GI tract. Your cardiac muscles, your heart, and then we can see a bicep there as an example for skeletal muscle. This is a very, very, very simplified version of how muscles work. The reason why I failed that exam is because I didn't want to fucking deal with this bullshit. Okay, so a functional unit for a muscle, my typo, guys, is a sarcomere. And sarcomeres are made up of this thing called actin and myosin. And those are very fun muscles. And they're very fun. So basically, say you're trying to pick something up. And by contracting your muscles, the sarcomere shortens, and that's cross-bridge cycling. And basically, when the sarcomere shortens, there's a buildup of pressure, and that allows you to lift stuff. Which, as you can see, there's a sarcomere there. It's composed of, there's the myofibril, A band, I band, and then you can see the thin filament, which is actin, and thick filament, which is myosin. More on muscles. This is just more going into muscles. The skeletal muscle is voluntary. You can find it all over your body. Neck, arms, legs, hips, everywhere. Cardiac muscle is involuntary, meaning you cannot control it. It has special intercalated discs that help ensure that your heart structure and function is coordinated. Smooth muscle is also involuntary. They make up your blood vessels and your intestines and some lining of organs as well and organ walls. Basically, anything that's gonna have to, like, contract and move, you know? That's also very important to make sure that you have. Your muscles come in various shapes and sizes. Do not train your cardiac muscles. You can train your skeletal muscles. How does your heart beat fast? That is due to the that is not conscious, but that's due to your, limbic system, which controls your emotions. The limbic system is basically your emotional system. But yeah, do not train your heart because you get hypertrophy. Always skip heart day. Do not do heart day. There's the reason why I try and keep my caffeine dosages as low as I can without, like, I avoid getting more than the recommended daily dose of caffeine. Do not do heart day because then your heart struggles to pump blood. Nervous system! This is fun. The nervous system is very complex. I will be breaking it down into 2 parts. Feel free to ask as many questions as you want here because this is very fun. Hello, Marcus! Welcome in! Happy to see you! Originally wasn't going to pop in, but I'm interested. Yes, come by! Doesn't matter how long you want to stay. Any questions are also interested. But we're breaking this into 2 parts. Central and peripheral. Central nervous system! The brain. This is a very important part. The brain is comprised of 5 lobes. The cerebellum, which is cerebrum, not the cerebellum. The cerebrum is the 5 lobes. And this is what you think about brain. Heart day. Heart day, if you want to actually exercise your heart, just elevate yourself and do exercise. But we will go more into the heart later. So there's 5 lobes. Frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, and insular, which is not pictured, but it's below the green one, the temporal. And there's also the cerebellum, which is important for balance. And the brainstem, which you need for life. Fun fact, lobotomies severed the connection between the frontal and parietal lobes, which caused disability and personality changes. So if you see brain part of any other bodily system, it's mainly just the nervous. However, certain parts of the brain, well, technically, there's the hypothalamus, which is technically not part of the brain, but is tied to the brain. That is part of the, I would argue it's also part of the endocrine system. But it's a much smaller part of the endocrine system, which we will go into that as well. It's also a part of most of your other body systems just because it's the control center. Anything outside of reflexes, the brain is part of. Hypothalamus is basically the hormonal center for your body. We will look at that. We will look into that. Do not worry. Central nervous system. The central nervous system is the command center for your body. It consists of the brain and spinal cord and mainly consists of interneurons. Everything in your body is controlled by the central nervous system. Some important parts include the amygdala, which is the emotional center. The meninges of the brain and spinal cord. The cerebrospinal fluid. What if two parts of the brain switch places? You'd probably die, but if it wouldn't die, the brain is able to adapt in certain situations to changes. However, I would, frankly, try and not have that happen. Neurons are not just in the brain. Neurons are all throughout your body. Neurons are also very important. Yeah, the brain is very plasticity. Plasticity is the ability to change. So as we can see, there's the meninges, the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. Yeah, that's also just because it basically did a lobotomy. It only impacted his frontal and parietal lobe. He had personality changes, which is expected when you sever the nerves that are a part of that junction. But otherwise, you know, he can live normal-ish. Next is the peripheral nervous system, which is it controls all of the nerves outside of your body. Outside of the central nervous system, it's a realized system. And without your peripheral nervous system, you'd be paralyzed or die. You can divide it into a few major classifications, which I will be going over. The autonomic nervous system is unable to be consciously controlled. Oh, sorry, guys. So basically, think anything that's involuntary. It's like your heart rate, your breathing, your basic breathing. Some elements of breathing are controlled. Peristalsis, which is the movement of food in your body. That cannot be controlled. Somatic is under voluntary control. So speech. Yes, peripheral because it goes to your peripheral muscles as well. Basically, it's as the main hub of the nervous system is the brain. Anything that is not the brain and spinal cord is considered peripheral to the brain. It's more of an anatomical term. But all of your nerves are part of the peripheral nervous system. Sympathetic is your fight or flight. This is responsible for faster heart rate, a slowdown of non-essential functions. So, like, if you guys have ever had an anxiety attack and all of a sudden, for some reason, after when you've calmed down, you get bad diarrhea, that's because of the interactions between these two systems. And then parasympathetic is rest and digest, which is lowering heart rate, encouraging digestion. The nervous system is uniquely human and oh so complex. It's divided into the CNS and PNS, which each serve its own unique purpose. It's very delicate. Make sure you take care of it. Engage in intellectual stimulation, such as this live stream. Very beneficial. Learning about all of these body parts. Yes, that's because your rest and digest system is basically telling you to slow down. It's time to rest. And then if you listen to them and you rest, your body's taking that time. When I get a headache, is that my brain actually hurting? That's the nerves around your sensory. That's your sensory nerves, mainly in your forehead hurting, I want to say. Why is the system so nervous? Can it calm down? Great question. Okay, this is very short because this is technically part of a lot of other systems. Vestibular anatomy. So basically, you have the 5 senses. Who wants to name the 5 senses for me, guys? I want someone to name them for me because I'm not doing that. because it's sight, sound, smell, taste, sight, hearing. Basically, it's the, yes, Watermelon got it right. They're technically yes and no. There is one other, that is classified as a sense, and that's equilibrium. Equilibrium is your sense of balance, and it is detected by the vestibular system. Oop, I don't know why I grabbed that. Hold on, there we go. The vestibular system is in your ear. And hold on, if you can see that, I'll move that. You can see this anatomy here, right? It's a part of your auditory system as well. And it consists of utricle, saccule, and vestibule, and that conveys to the vestibulocochlear nerve. Yeah, well, listen, it's like saying that there's like 3 states of matter when there's technically we don't fucking know. No, you would still have your sense of balance. However, if you did not have the vestibular system, you would lose your sense of balance. Or if you did not have an adequately developed cerebellum. Endocrine system! Let's go. Endocrine system is one of the big things here. Very fun. The endocrine system is a complex system of hormones and the organs that secrete them. Some of the major endocrine hormones are the thyroid, which is thyroid hormone, regulates metabolism and development. The pituitary gland, mainly because equilibrium is a more complex concept, and it's like, obviously we're told we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Obviously, it's more like we breathe in hydrogen. However, because oxygen is more important in the eyes of the science lord, that's just how it works. It's just general education it has different standards than like the going beyond stuff. Oh, I have to yawn. Sorry. The pituitary gland works with the hypothalamus. It's the master gland. It's basically the control center. And the pancreas maintains blood sugar and produces insulin. This is basically hormones. Hormones. We love hormones. Here, as we can see, here is, hold on, there we go. I use this visual because I think this is a much better visual than I could ever explain it. We can see the endocrine system. I'll go off of it. Hormones are chemical messengers. They travel to the target organ and regulate physiological processes. So heart rate, breathing, blood pressure. It's regulated by feedback mechanisms to maintain hormonal balance. It coordinates bodily. The goal is to basically keep everything safe and balanced and sane. And the hormones often respond in response to changes in the body. I saw a comment. Hold on. How come some are born with less abilities to speak than others? Somatic nerve is voluntary? Somatic is voluntary. However, there are many disorders that may impact the nerves that are involved in speaking. There is a lot of conditions such as aphasia and dyspraxia that are effectively a deficit in those nerves that make it harder for those people to make the proper vocal sounds or speech sounds or anything like that. Those are, simply put, just due to the issues with the nervous system. There are ways to help that, mainly voluntary therapies and such is very beneficial to help when it comes to... What the hell is this? Trash bag. Yeah, basically there's just a lot of disorders. Any kind of system can have a disorder, I will say. There we go. Important hormones. Here are some hormones. Aldosterone, which I have to know for an exam. Yeah, if I had the opportunity to go in and say what could go wrong in the body, we'll be here for a long time. And I don't got time for that. Aldosterone is really important in the urinary system. It regulates salt, water balance, and blood pressure. So it's why you don't keel over and die. Growth hormone is important when it comes to making things grow. Why does my heart ache when no Oshi? It's because brain like Oshi. Brain love Oshi. Insulin lowers your blood sugar levels, and epinephrine and norepinephrine maintains your blood pressure, and increases heart rate, respectively. Very important hormones. The endocrine system is similar to the nervous system as it is a means of bodily communication, but instead of neurotransmitters, hormones are used. The endocrine system also is slower and often has longer lasting effects. Alright. Why does my heart ache specifically? Good question. I don't know. Unfortunately. I'm not smart enough to know. How synthesizable mean? Okay, well. Awesome. Hold on. Trying to think real quick. I low-key got Star Rail on the side right now. Alright, anyways! Cardiovascular system. Your heart. Your heart's very important. Your heart's very good. The cardiovascular system is comprised of 3 parts, so I'll be dividing it up into... Why is pain felt in heart and not brain? I think that means that your heart has issues. You should talk to your doctor. You should talk to your doctor about that. I think that's the move. Yeah, heart's the pump, vessels are the roads, and the blood's the cars. The heart! This is your heart, guys, in all of its lovely, lovely beauty. Very important that you maintain it. Your heart is the pump of the cardiovascular system. This is the flow of blood. Okay, we're gonna go through that. The right side of the heart receives the blood from the vena cava, which is the inferior or superior part here. And then it goes to the right side of the heart, where it is passed through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, up to the pulmonary artery, into the lungs. Next, it returns to the pulmonary veins, fully oxygenated, pumped through the left side of the heart, into the aorta and the rest of the body. And there are also valves to prevent blood from sliding back, and the sound of the heart is the turbulence of the blood against those valves. So we can see the pulmonary valve, the tricuspid valve, the mitral valve, and the aortic valve. Those are all really important and part of the blood. And really helps the blood, stay together and move properly. Blood vessels! There are 3 main types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, so arteries away. Capillaries are the sites of gas and nutrient exchange. If you give yourself a cut, so let's say you get a paper cut. When I have heartburn, which part is going wrong? Your gastrointestinal system, because that's actually your stomach. I'll use my brain to regulate blood temperature. So basically, if you accidentally give yourself a paper cut, you're cutting a capillary. Or capillaries. Veins then carry the blood from the capillaries back to the heart. Veins also have valves to prevent blood from stagnating and backsliding. When arteries shrink and branch out, they become arterioles, and veins do that and are called venules. And the largest artery is the aorta. So if your aorta gets fucked up, you're kind of dead, because that's like most of your blood. Blood! Blood. You guys recognize those little red things? We saw those at the very beginning. Blood is composed of many structures that carry nutrients and oxygen around to nervous tissues. How oxygen transport works, which is one of the major functions of blood, mainly with erythrocytes. Oxygen binds to hemoglobin, which carries the blood oxygen to the structures that need it. Oxygen binds to hemoglobin, and each hemoglobin can carry up to 4 oxygen molecules. White blood cells are also seen. There are 2 types of white blood cells: granulocytes and agranulocytes, and there's also platelets that help with clotting. You can see the basophil, the eosinophil, the platelets. It's all labeled really nicely. We will go into this more when we get to the immune system. You will get a much better overview of this topic. Key takeaways. Your cardiovascular system is your body's highly efficient transport system. It is very important to get regular exercise to ensure your heart is healthy, and you have to eat healthy to prevent blood clots as well. I am personally at risk of blood clotting and conditions like that due to genetically high cholesterol. Fun fact. So this is why heart health is very important. So remember to take care of your heart, because otherwise your heart will not take care of you. Let's see, next part. Lymphatic system. Yay, guys, lymphatic system. Runs in parallel to your system. Yeah, tell your dentist about your blood tissues. Your lymphatic system is home base for your immune system. It's comprised of lymph and the organs that filter it. The goal of your lymphatic system is to filter out the lymph and return it to your blood. Basically, when your blood goes to the capillaries to, like, exchange what it has and the nutrients, some of that gets into the, some of it doesn't go with the rest of the blood. And that becomes lymph. So your lymph is basically anything that wasn't taken back to the veins, or anything that is just in the lymphatic system. Lymphatic organs. The spleen filters your blood. The thymus is where your white blood cells are developed. And atrophy is actually starting in puberty. So when you're an adult, the thymus is significantly smaller. The lymph nodes are places where lymph is filtered, and the white blood cells act to eat up pathogens. Tonsils. They survey the pharynx, which is part of your throat, to ensure no pathogens get in, and they have crypts that trap pathogens. And then there's MALT, which is mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues. Lymph is basically any substance that fell into the intercapillary space that is collected by lymph capillaries and transmitted into the lymph nodes. Anything filtered by lymph nodes is part of lymph. And lymph can have a lot of stuff. Some lymph is perfectly fine. It's just blood cells, white blood cells, plasma. Yeah, pathogens is just a catch-all for anything that shouldn't be there. So it could be a virus, it could be a parasite. Anything like that that ends up going into the lymphatic space is filtered by the lymph nodes, and lymph nodes also have a high concentration of white blood cells to help get rid of these yucky structures. Lymphatic system is the unsung hero of keeping you healthy. It helps fight pathogens and is home to your immune system. Sorry, guys. It's home to vessels that transport the lymph to various organs, and that makes sure that all of the lymph is scanned and kept clean, and those organs also produce immune cells, which is very important. As you can see, there's all these little green stuff. That's part of lymphatic system. And make sure you think about your lymphatic system, and you go, thank you, lymphatic system, for helping me. Immune system! While the immune system is the immune system is still its own thing, even though the lymphatic system is kind of the headquarters. The immune system is comprised of all the cells that help an immune response. And we'll be assuming all of the big parts of the immune cells and all of that. The appendix does kind of nothing. We think it might house some immune cells, but for the most part, it doesn't serve a use. You can survive without it with very little impact. But we think it's basically just a storage site for white blood cells. So there are 5 types of white blood cells. Monocytes. They eat what is left of dead pathogens. They're very hungry. Lymphocytes produce antibodies and help fight viruses. Basophils are responsible for allergies. And so you can say fuck you basophils whenever you're allergic to pollen. Eosinophils kill and fight parasites. And the neutrophils kill bacteria, fungi, and foreign debris. So neutrophils are kind of like the killer. Here is a very blurry image, but this is processes of the immune response. I'm going to try and simplify this explanation just because it's very interesting. So basically, a pathogen meets a macrophage, and the macrophage may eat the pathogen. Are basophils bad? Basophils are good. Yeah, like, the appendix is kind of just like, it's kind of helpful, but we really don't fucking know. It's kind of a toss-up as what it does. But, basically, the macrophage presents the dead pathogen, and it's like, yo, T lymphocyte, let's go get him. This is adaptive immunity, by the way. And then it produces a killer cell, which destroys the infected body cell, or B lymphocytes, which can create plasma cells that are antibodies, or do memory cells, which basically is how vaccines work, is that they help with production of memory cells. So when there is if you didn't have basophils, you would probably die. You need all of your white blood cells, no matter how inconvenient they may be. Because there's a reason why they trigger the response. Even if the response is annoying, there is always a reason for a response. Hold on, one sec. Okay, but yeah, we can see memory cells are an important part of vaccine production, fun fact, because when you get a vaccine, the goal is to create memory cells. Yeah, if you're allergic to a lot of stuff, that's when your immune system kind of just decides to say, go fuck yourself. But it's still, in general, really important to have, like, your cells like that, you know? It's still important. Types of immunity. Two types of immunity. There's innate, which is your first line of defense, and that's your white blood cells for the most part. And there's active immunity, which is the second line of defense. It requires an antigen encounter and an exposure to the pathogen. It involves B cells and T cells. So basically, adaptive innate is your skin, which prevents anything from getting in, obviously. And then it goes to your white blood cells, and then it goes to your adaptive immunity, which is your plasma proteins, your antibodies, all that stuff. Antibodies mark the virus for demolishment. Fun fact. Your immune system is responsible for keeping you alive, even though you sometimes experience discomfort from the inflammation and fever triggered by the immune system. At the end of the day, it keeps you healthy and it keeps you safe, which is what's really important. Even though it can be annoying sometimes, you know? We are getting towards the end. I believe there's one more system after this, and then I will answer any questions you all have. Your respiratory system helps you breathe, which is... Oh, stop tapping. So basically, air goes down to the bronchioles into alveoli where gas exchange occurs. Gas exchange is incredibly sophisticated and complicated. Yes. Your body, the bee memory cells, they just remember. They're like, they have one enemy, and that's your body. That's like all the things it attacks. The bronchioles are like the path to the alveoli. And the alveoli is where the gas happens. Why do I need air? Because your cells produce waste. And if your cells don't get rid of that waste, that's bad. And the cells also need oxygen and hydrogen. And breathing is a big way how you get hydrogen. Because without hydrogen, your body becomes very, I think, basic or acidic. I think acidic. So basically, you want to make sure that you have hydrogen and oxygen. Mapping airflow. All right, so it starts in the nasal cavity usually, but also the oral cavity as well. It goes into the pharynx, then the epiglottis. No, it does not go in the epiglottis. Epiglottis for food. Pharynx into the larynx, into the trachea. The carina is the branching off section right here. And then it goes into the bronchus, bronchioles, and then to the individual alveoli, where they go to the alveolar sacs to be transferred into the blood, and also the carbon dioxide in your blood is taken out, and the oxygen is absorbed. That is due to the difference in partial pressures. Naturally, your air and most substances want to flow to the least resistance, and as there's a higher concentration of oxygen in the air than in your blood, the oxygen will naturally move towards your blood. However, it's the reverse is true for CO2. You have more CO2 in your blood than in the air. So the CO2 is naturally brought out into the alveoli because there's less CO2 there, and the laws of nature say flow to the area of least concentration. Yeah, that's true. Flowing with oxygen, we've just been rolling with it. What happens to bad gases if they get in your lungs just coughing? It depends. Some amount of gases that are not meant to be there, you'll be fine. However, certain other gases, if you breathe them, all gases you breathe are transported throughout your blood. That's because obviously, as we discussed with the cardiovascular system, all of the blood that is pumped through your body reaches the lungs, and the oxygen in your lungs, whatever is in there, gets transported. It doesn't matter if it's bad or good. Let's say you breathe in some helium. A little bit of helium from a balloon. At most, you might feel lightheaded because helium is replacing the oxygen. But you should be fine because you'll be exhaling it and that helium is taken out of the body. But let's say you breathe something much more dangerous like mercury gas or something. That doesn't want to leave your body and that causes you to die. It just basically just depends on the substance. Enough of anything will kill you. So if you are obviously breathing in a lot of CO2 or not enough oxygen, that will cause, sorry guys, I'm brushing my hair again, will cause your body to start to shut down. Basically, the respiratory system is also responsible for the disposal of metabolic wastes like CO2, and surprisingly complex gas exchange system that I actually went into a little bit. This is actually not the last one, it's the second to last one. And you only get to laugh at the word anus once this stream, okay? You only get to laugh at butt once. It's part of the system. Alright, let's start. What? Okay. Alright. The digestive system is how we digest and break our food down into molecules as well as secrete waste. Haha, liver, haha, pancreas. That's so funny. But basically, it's, imagine your body, right? Your body needs to be, you need to basically, when you eat, your body gotta absorb all that nutrients, baby. So I break it into 4 parts: the mouth and esophagus. This is where a lot of mechanical digestion occurs, which is the chewing and the swallowing, and it creates a bolus. And a bolus, I think I'll go into what a bolus is later. Bolus is food, ball of food. Stomach is where proteins are digested with the stomach acid, and peristalsis occurs. Peristalsis is the movement of your muscles to help digest. Small intestines. Pancreas, yes, pancreas is behind the stomach. I believe. I want to say it is. Pancreas does have a role, it secretes insulin into the stomach. Stomach, and then the small intestine, which is chemical digestion and a lot of absorption of nutrients. The large intestine, which is absorbing water and waste excretion. Here is some terminology. A bolus is a roundish mass of chewed food. A bolus is formed in the mouth and the throat. The duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. 3 segments of the small intestine. The gallbladder is the organ that secretes bile into the duodenum, which aids in further chemical digestion, and peristalsis is the muscular movements used to mechanically digest food. That all makes sense. Yes. Digestive system, in my opinion, I think this may be because I haven't really gotten to look into it yet due to my class structure. I think it's pretty simple. Breakdown of food is done by both mechanically, by muscles and movement, and by chemically, by saliva, stomach acid, and bile. And the goal is to absorb nutrients and excrete the wastes that come with what we cannot digest. Urinary system. Alright, it's the last part. Urinary system is one of the most important bodily systems and an unsung hero. It has many goals. It filters waste products from the blood to help produce urine and also helps ensure the blood pH is in a safe place. Major organ of this system is the kidney. You can survive without one kidney. You still need a kidney, but you only need one. So as we could see, the kidneys, ureters, bladder, and the urethra. Those are the 4 major parts. At least on the surface, you know. Yes, you can. Or muscles being disturbed. Like a lot of stomach viruses cause inflammation to the small and large intestine, and that causes the small and large intestine to reject food, which is very annoying. And ultimately, it'll even reject bile, which is a big pain in the ass. As someone who has had stomach flus before, nobody likes stomach flus. But yeah, it's basically inflammation or also if the senses of like the protein breakdowns detect something toxic, the body's natural response. We're not talking about the prostate. The prostate is actually important as it adds certain fluids into ejaculate. That's what that does, and that's what I'm gonna say on that. But yeah, it also throws up. You also throw up if your body detects something toxic and its goal is just expel the toxin. Nephrons! Nephrons are the functional unit of the kidney. The nephron is the name for the structures that filter the blood and produce urine. Nephrons are a glomerulus. We can see whereas the blood vessels go to the glomerulus. The proximal and distal convoluted tubules, which are here and here respectively, and then the loop of Henle. And there's a collecting tubule as well. The role of the nephron is to filter, absorb, and secrete as needed, and hormones can influence what is secreted or absorbed by nephrons. Very important. These guys are basically what makes urine and also what prevents you from dying. Key takeaway. This is a kidney, as we can see. The urinary system helps filter out metabolic and bodily wastes. It is the unsung hero in your survival. The functional unit of your kidney is a nephron, which is composed of several structures to produce urine. See the ureter, which flows to the urinary bladder. And then we have the filtered and unfiltered blood, and then we can see all the little nephrons right there. And then the renal pelvis, the greater calyxes and lesser calyxes, all important parts of the body. And do we have any questions? That is it. That's the end of my presentation. I spent like a good few hours on this, and so do we have any questions? Any questions? I got a bunch. I will take a bunch of questions about anything. I will turn down questions if I don't like them, though. Very profession. How much bladder is filled? Around 200 to 300 milliliters is when the body triggers the micturition reflex. However, you still have a voluntary control of the bladder by controlling the external urinary sphincter. Around 1 liter, though, is the maximum amount the bladder can hold, though. But yes, I'll wait for any more questions, but if not, we shall rest. Why is the brain like that? I don't know. The brain is very complex, but because it's so complex, it also just messes up a lot, and it's very annoying, and I don't like that. But give the brain some break, you know? The brain deserves a little bit of love, because it does work hard for all it does, you know? The brain works very, very hard. But yes, any other questions before I wrap up? Because I do have some stuff I do have to do. No, they don't. Because your body, despite looking like absolute dog shit, has really good cable management somehow. I don't know how it has surprisingly good cable management, but it just does, and it's kind of just able to manage those cables pretty well. Well, that's because of the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects to basically the stomach, and the vagus nerve is very important as it goes kind of directly to your brain. So if you don't have a good gut health, then we think that the vagus nerve is the reason why it kind of impacts your mental health. That's just a theory, though. We kind of don't fucking know. Like, I hate saying that we don't know, but we kind of don't know. We kind of have we're like shooting in the dark because the field of biology has kind of come a long way in the past couple of decades. So having it, of course, be different and unique, we're still figuring it all out. Yeah, we think it's vagus nerve, which makes sense. Also the stomach is where you absorb a lot of stuff, and all that stuff does go to the brain. It does impact brain health, which is why we think diet might be linked to dementia. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy that it's been interesting. I'm very happy it's been interesting for you guys because I spent a bit of time on this and this was an event reward from the sake event, so I can finally cross that off that I got it done. I do need to eat dinner and I should probably go on a walk soon because I've been laying around all day. I've been very tired. But yeah, I hope you guys learned. Is there anything that you liked the most? What was the most interesting fact in your opinion? You can answer. You can answer. I will answer. Yes, I enjoy answering questions. That's because blockages in because okay, when food and air go down different tubes, why is it when I choke on food I can't breathe? That's because the food went down. Basically the system that is prevents you from basically food goes down the pharynx into the esophagus, and that is covered by the epiglottis. The pharynx has air go down the larynx into the carina, into the into the lungs. If food goes down the wrong pipe, then that food is lodged in the lungs. And obviously, if food is lodged in the lungs, that impacts your ability to breathe, and your muscles that are involved in breathing are not able to properly pull back and allow the pleural space to open up and allow air to rush into that pressure space. So because of that, that's why you choke. Yeah, the lymph nodes are important. They're very weird little things. I always hear about them. True. God, my fucking study guide for last semester, my final, I printed out a lot of stuff, and I just put the cable management meme where it's just bad cable management, and it shows like the map of blood vessels, and then good cable management, and it's just like all the body's blood vessels in like one streamlined line. And I'm just like, beautiful. But yes, any other questions? Any other questions before I wrap up? We did 2 whole YouTube streams this month, guys. I'm so strong and I'm so awesome. I try to stream on YouTube, but I'm very special. Very special anime girl. Well, if it gets stuck in your esophagus, that's not good because then you can't swallow, and then anything else you like your saliva can't be on earrings, so it's always nice. Thank you. Yeah, I try. It's just I'm very tired, and YouTube streams take a lot out of me. For some reason, I always have a lot to do, so I try and make space. We're gonna be doing more YouTube streams when I'm out of school, though. But unfortunately, when I'm in Japan, YouTube streams are probably gonna be on a full pause. But I might try and do other content in the meantime. But that makes sense. You can kind of breathe this dude stuck in your esophagus, but then like food that's in your you still have a very big choke risk. If it's still got issue, you know. Don't choke. TLDR. Choke very bad. Alright, any other questions before I wrap up? Oh wait, guys, well, with that, I'm tired a bit again, even though I slept all day. I know, Archie, you're so productive. And I say, yeah, I'm really productive. But thank you guys for coming! I hope you guys liked the lecture. I really hope you learned something, because anatomy and human function and learning stuff is very important. Thank you! Thank you! Thank you, thank you, thank you! Have a good rest of your day, guys! Tomorrow, I don't know what I'm doing. Probably just more work. Well, unfortunately, Archie has to do a lot of work And Archie's very depressed due to that. But yes, otherwise, let's all have a good rest of our days, okay? Bye-bye!